Welcome everyone to History Gone Wilder, part of Half History Will Travel. I'm your host, the Wilder historian, Dr. Lucas Wilder, and I finished the Appomattox campaign last week, and we'll be starting a new series. This video will start the First Battle of Bull Run or Manassas. Then I will start on the war in the West, beginning with the Confederate defensive strategy and going all the way to the Battle of Shiloh. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, join the Patreon page, and purchase something from one of my online stores. Every little bit helps. Thank you. By June 1861, 11 Southern states had left the Union and began mobilizing their military forces to confront the United States. With the capital of the new Confederate States of America moving from Montgomery, Alabama to Richmond, Virginia, much of the war's focus began to shift to the Old Dominion, as the two nations' capitals lay about 100 miles apart. Troops from all over the South began to concentrate in Virginia. A few points became the sites of early battles. Fort Monroe on the peninsula in Virginia, created by the York and James Rivers, remained in Union hands, unlike its sister fort, Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor. The Union garrison there had sallied forth against their Confederate opponents in what became the Battle of Big Bethel. Union General George B. McClellan launched a campaign in what would become West Virginia to protect the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, linking the eastern United States with the Midwest. He fought a few battles in the rugged mountains of western Virginia as more and more troops poured into northern Virginia from both sides. A fast assembling army under Union General Irvin McDowell assembled just outside of Washington, D.C. to protect the capital. Confederate General Pierre-Gustave Toutant Beauregard confronted McDowell. North and west of those two armies were two other forces, a Union contingent led by Robert Patterson and the Confederate garrison of Harper's Ferry commanded by Joseph E. Johnston. The numerically superior Patterson approached Johnston, who gave up Harper's Ferry and withdrew from the area. A back and forth between Johnston and Patterson occurred, with each side advancing, then pulling back. That is, until July 18th. Word came to Johnston that Beauregard was being attacked. Indeed, Federal troops were marching toward Beauregard's position along the waterway called Bull Run. Johnston's men started toward Manassas Junction, first marching, then boarding trains to reach Beauregard in time. McDowell began moving his army of northeastern Virginia toward the rebels on July 16th. The inexperience of the troops resulted in slow movements by the blue columns. Daniel Tyler's division marched on the right flank. David Hunter's division advanced in the center, with Dixon Miles' division behind, and Samuel Heintzelman's division acted as the left flank. Beauregard's Army of the Potomac didn't have divisions, opting to utilize unattached brigades. Those units in an advanced position withdrew behind Bull Run. McDowell initially wanted to turn the Confederate right flank, but as the advance continued, he decided to concentrate near Centerville and assault Beauregard's left flank. Beauregard believed McDowell would attack his right and began moving troops to bolster that flank in anticipation of such an attack. On July 19th, Tyler's division went against McDowell's orders and began to advance on Bull Run to engage with the Confederates. A couple of couriers came to Tyler, but he waved them off as he sent Israel Richardson's brigade to approach Mitchell's Ford and Blackburn's Ford along Bull Run. Richardson took 40 men from each of his infantry regiments to form a battalion of men in order to reconnoiter the ground. They would be supported by 3 companies from the 1st Massachusetts. The Union troops first advanced toward Mitchell's Ford, but found Milledge Bonham's brigade defending the opposite bank. So they swerved off to their left toward Blackburn's Ford. They couldn't see any enemy troops and decided to press toward that crossing. Unbeknownst to them, James Longstreet and his brigade of Virginians awaited them, concealed in the tree line. As the battalion of men got within range, the Virginians unleashed a volley into the blue ranks. The surprised Yankees skedaddled away from Bull Run, while the 1st Massachusetts advanced toward Longstreet's position, coming under the same fire. But the Bay Staters didn't move, and instead returned fire. One of Longstreet's men declared there were thousands of enemy, and some of the green troops began to waver and fall back. Longstreet took out his sword and sent them back into the ranks. After battling for an hour, the men from Massachusetts fell back. Richardson asked Tyler if he could send in the rest of his brigade. To the dismay of McDowell's aides, he consented. The 12th New York Infantry moved out toward the ford. Tyler reconsidered the attack after seeing the destruction to his artillery batteries and wanted the New Yorkers recalled, but they had already begun to engage. Tyler could either let the 12th New York succumb to their fate at the hands of Longstreet's men, or he could send in the 2nd and 3rd Michigan and what was left of the 1st Massachusetts to help. He decided on the latter. The other columns began to move to support their comrades. The New Yorkers fought with the Virginians for about 30 minutes, while Longstreet got reinforcements in the form of the 7th Louisiana and the 7th Virginia. Both regiments came from Jubal Early's brigade, further to the Confederate right. When the rest of Richardson's brigade joined the 12th, the New Yorkers fled the field. Richardson yelled at them, "What are you running for? There is no enemy here. I cannot see anybody at all." The men yelled back that the regiment was destroyed. On the Union right, the Michiganders were lured into a false sense of security, not encountering any enemy. So they splintered off to pick blackberries. That is, until they began taking small arms fire. Longstreet battled with Richardson in somewhat of a stalemate until the Confederate brigade commander decided to launch a counterattack. The 17th and 1st Virginia advanced across Bull Run, capturing prisoners, mainly from the 1st Massachusetts. Richardson's men were pushed back and Longstreet returned to the other side of the ford. Richardson requested that Tyler bring up William T. Sherman's brigade to add weight to the attack and renew it, but Tyler knew he had already went against orders to not bring on a battle and decided to pull back and await orders. These actions went against McDowell's overall plans to attack Beauregard's left flank, but McDowell still favored that plan and would continue to prepare his army to accomplish his goal of turning the Confederate left. The outnumbered Beauregard began to breathe a little easier when on that same day of July 19th, the first troops from Johnston's army from the Shenandoah appeared.